So Brad, out in the front here, there's a large pile of sand, a berm.
Right. So we were very fortunate when they were doing the landscaping at the corner here. Uh, they ended up with a big pile of dirt, and rather than haul it away, we asked them if we could have it, and they were glad to oblige. So,
Yeah, because if they have to carry it for several miles, it's very expensive. And if they can give it to you and you use it. And then I see the Joshua trees there.
right.
Did you plant those Joshua trees?
Well, I've always had an interest in Joshua trees, so yeah, I collected the seeds, believe it or not, about 8 years ago. And I've been growing Joshua trees and preserving Joshua trees ever since. So I'm glad you noticed that. That's a really important part of the project. And they look great in
They
the
do.
landscape.
They do. It's a native plant.
It's a true native,
Well,
yes.
we'll come back and talk about Joshua trees another day.
Okay.
The different shrubs you've got here, everything is drought tolerant.
Yeah, they're all almost, they hardly need any water. They could probably, most of them now survive without water, but it wouldn't look good in a residential setting. So they would look, weaker and droop and so forth, but they would find a way to survive, a lot of them. So we water, we have occasional watering on a drip system.
Yeah,
So that it looks good as a presentation for a residential property.
they're saving money every month on the water bill.
Oh yeah.
And water is a pretty precious thing in the desert. You mentioned that the drought tolerant shrubs grow quickly.
Yeah, because if you can imagine, in their native environment, they're hardly ever, they get little or no water, no nutrients.
Yeah,
It's amazing they even survive. And so when you put them into this situation where we can control the rainwater, we can actually add a little bit of nutrient here and there, it's like steroids for plants. They
Yeah.
just go crazy.
yeah.
So they grow really fast.
And they should, because you're putting on a show.
Right.
I notice across the front of the house here, you've got a lot of the large pots. What was the idea there?
Well, the more elements you can add to a landscape project, just like the interior furnishings, and it just adds more artwork and another feature, and so that color is there. It's a little eye candy for the winter when things aren't blooming, and so we like that. We like to use pottery.
The yard really is a work of art. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Where did you get this large rock? This rock is huge. It must be 10 feet long.
It's close.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was actually an accident. So we buy rock by the truckload. So we had an entire 24-ton truckload of rock delivered to our yard, and this rock rolled out with all the other rocks. I don't know what happened when they were loading it, but somebody wasn't paying attention. So we really don't have the means to move this around. So fortunately, I have a good friend named Leroy that helped me out,
Yeah.
and he's like MacGyver. He can figure out ways to get things done. So I said, "Hey Leroy, I need to move this rock from there over to here," and they brought their flatbed trailer and a backhoe and found a way to do it.
But part of the beauty of you being in this business for so long and knowing so many people, artists like this all over the place that can help you with onesies and twosies and special items, and because every job is different, right?
Every job is unique. We do design and build, so we really customize our projects for the needs of that family, and it's always different. It's just, everyone's different.
And then this shrub, it's a Texas
Texas Ranger.
Ranger. And
And
we just
it's
missed.
evergreen, so in the winter it doesn't drop its leaves. So I like to use a lot of evergreen plant material in the front yards, because that way, around Christmas time and going into the January and so forth, it still looks healthy. But this one will bloom a couple times a year, and I think you mentioned that you had one at your house, so you've
Right.
seen, it's like this beautiful purple globe when it blooms,
Yeah.
just all flowers.
When we did our yard, we're thinking something always has to be blooming.
Yeah,
And
that's a
I've-
good strategy.
When I'm out in the desert or up in the mountains, there's always something blooming.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the beauty of nature, is that it's constantly evolving and gives you something different to look at, different perspective every season.
Brad Hayes, Greenbee Landscape, contact information.
You can contact us on the web at www.greenbeelandscape.com, or just give us a call. Most likely Cheryl will answer at 661-274-2331.
Very good.
And then if you become my customer, I give you my cell phone. But I don't do that yet.
Chris Spiker with Brad Hayes, Greenbee Landscape.